everybody, this is the LFC Daytrippers. I'm Gav, and with me I have got Kev, and we are going to talk about the World Cup. Tonight we're going to concentrate on World Cup Group A, B, C and D, and in a second show then we're going to do Groups E, F, G and H. Kev, how are you?
I'm good. Good. Not too bad.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. No football now, but it's like we got the World Cup on our doorstep
Yeah.
and we don't have the build up for it. Normally you'd have like your 20-day build up, you'd have your
Mm,
your pre-tournament games.
yeah.
You get a feel of what the players are like and who to look for and what have you. None of it this time. It's literally the season ends straight into it.
Mm.
No warm ups, no nothing.
This one, of course, has been controversial because it's in Qatar. It's being moved from summer to winter. I've seen some footage today of what I think it was like fans being hired, people being hired to look like fans. I've seen
Yeah.
what supposedly is supporters' digs that they'll stay in, and it just looks like tents. And um, it hasn't has the best run up. Let's be honest about it. There's a lot of
No.
people that won't watch it. Don't agree with where it is, and that's absolutely fine. I will watch a small amount, I'd say, whatever I catch. I'm like that when it comes to these tournaments. Whatever's kind of on, if I'm there, I very rarely set out to watch anything. But there's still some massive teams in it, and it's still a World Cup at the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean, look, over the weekend, I watched the new FIFA documentary on Netflix, 4 1-hour episodes, and I'd encourage everyone to watch it.
Mm.
It's the most definitive documentary that I've seen on FIFA ever produced. David Conn, the Liverpool journalist who covered Hillsborough,
Yep.
was instrumental in putting this Netflix series together, and he narrates
Hmm.
the entire thing. Watch it and take from it what you want. But at the end of the day, the fans. I grew up watching World Cups. I love the World
Yeah.
Cup. I absolutely love it. I have great memories of it. Some of my greatest football memories of as a child come from the World Cup. And if the fans had their say, it would not be where it is. We don't get a say in it. It's not our fault. It's not the players' fault. It's not the coach's fault. They're just told where to go and play and represent their countries, and
Mm.
they'll do the best they can. But it is what it is. I'm not going to avoid it, but I'm not going to shut up about the stuff that's going on in Qatar either. And you're seeing it more and more in the spotlight now. Maybe the spotlight on the regime that's there is a good thing
Yeah.
because the rest of the world,
We could see more of it as well as the tournament
yeah,
goes on. We
we could.
could
I
see.
hope we do. I hope we do.
Yeah, look, in fairness, like we've seen an awful lot of stuff where, players are being urged to do this, that, and the other. Jurgen Klopp from a Liverpool side that said, look, these players didn't choose Qatar.
Yeah,
This was a decision made 10 years ago or whatever. So these players just have to go and represent their countries, the sort of way.
hmm
Yeah, so it is one of those where players, it's still a World Cup for these players. They're probably playing under a bit of a cloud. At the fact that it's in the winter just doesn't sit right with a lot of people, and the fact of where it is doesn't sit with right with a lot of people. But that's what you're dealing with when it comes to
yeah,
FIFA and world football.
exactly.
And you know what? It, for all the negativity around it, the positive might come out where people will go after this when you don't do it in winter again, and you don't put it in this country again. Like, don't get me wrong. If you're in a country in that part of the world and it's not a regime and it's not this, that, and the other, you kind of go, well, look, football is the world game. You can't go and play it in the summer in parts of Africa.
Yeah,
Because it's just way too hot. The sort of way, and maybe moving it is because of conditions. Fine, but when you couple it with everything else that's going on, it's a bit
leaves a taste.
shady, isn't it? But
It does
look,
leave a taste.
we're going to get into it. We're going to, as I said, we're going to do the first four groups tonight. We're going to do the second two groups ASAP. We're going to release these both the day before the World Cup starts, so you'll have two shows back to back on our YouTube channel and for download as well. So let's get into it. Group A. Opening
Group A.
game is Qatar v Ecuador, am I right?
Yeah, Qatar v
On
Ecuador
Sunday.
Sunday,
Yeah.
Sunday 4 p.m. And to be honest, Qatar as a football country just doesn't have the history. When you dig into it, you'll struggle to find a player that you know.
Hmm.
And the ones that have, like, I mean, their main player is a guy named Hassan Al Haidas. He's 158 caps, 31-year-old striker. And I don't think any of them play in Europe. They don't play in any of the major leagues, but they've been building up for this. Like most host countries, they play in arranged tournaments throughout the last few years, and their results haven't been great. I think their last few results, they've had a 3-0 draws, maybe a 1-0 loss here and there, but they don't score. They're a very defensive side, and they could set a record actually for being the only host country to lose their opening game. It's
Yeah.
never, even South Africa, I think, in their opening game
Yeah.
took a draw. So it just seemed a done thing that the host country would always get something out of the first game. And it usually sets the tournament off into a positive spin. I mean, you go back Mexico 86, Spain in 82. These countries, when the home country does well, tends to have a lift around the whole country, and everyone, there's much more enthusiasm in the game. But basically, the way the stadiums are set up in Qatar, it's about half the size of Leinster. You know, it's 11 or 12 stadiums in such a small
Area.
radius.
Yeah.
You know, the build up to all the games and that, there's no spread, nobody's spread out, there's no flights here, there, and everywhere. The fans are going to be mixed together. You know, the fans that do travel. It'll be interesting to see how this all plays out. But the opening game, I mean, you look at Ecuador, I actually look at the group, and I actually wouldn't be surprised if Ecuador come out of this. They have a really good, very good young side, some really good young players. Hinsepe is a centre back, 20 years of age at Bayer Leverkusen. He's getting a lot of love from the big clubs at the minute. Estupian at Brighton, we know. You know, they picked him up for a snip. Really good player. Caicedo, we know.
Yeah.
Very good player. And there's a striker as well at Valladolid. Plata is his name. He's on loan. I think he's on loan from Sporting Lisbon. So I don't know if Sporting Lisbon have sold him to Valladolid or he's on loan at Valladolid. But he's probably one to look out for. But when you look at Ecuador, the bulk of their side is very young. And they've come through a really successful youth setup, and they qualified well in South America. So to come out of the qualification in South America, you've got to have a bit about you. So it's I expect Ecuador to win, to beat Qatar, set themselves up for the tournament, and they're going to be one of those sides, I think, that high energy. They'll be top of the who needs them club in this group. You know, it's expected that the Netherlands and Senegal, because of the pedigree of the two nations, will come through. But I could see Ecuador making this really interesting. This group.
I think with Qatar, you know, you're right. I couldn't tell you one result in Qatar. You can go back as many years as you like. You know, Ecuador, you have got those few standout players. If you look at Senegal, though, you know, they win the African nations, don't they?
Yeah.
Against Egypt. Then they knock Egypt out in the qualifier for the World Cup. You see the quality of players they have. Of course, Sadio Mane is rumoured to be missing their opening games, so I'm presuming he's going to miss the first two, which is a bit of a blow to them. And I think that's a massive loss for them, Sadio Mane, in the first two games. I think it's a massive loss. And then you look at the Netherlands or Holland, wherever you want to call it, and you know, they're a lot of people's dark horses. Usually when you go into these tournaments, the problem with Holland is they all start round with each other and there's fallouts everywhere. But they seem a bit more of a kind of tighter knit group for me at the minute. You know, you have got some unbelievable players in the Holland squad. And I think you're right. I think Ecuador might just throw the cat amongst the pigeons. And you know what? The heat out there, young players, energetic, it might make up for the fact that they're young and they might be a bit, you know, wet behind the ears. I think it's a tough one to call. And when I was looking, and I was doing up all the groups today, and I looked at them and went, "Oh, that is interesting," because you know you do mention those players, the two from Brighton, the centre back, striker, and you're kind of saying to yourself, you know what? When you talk about Qatar or a host nation getting on a run or getting a result, and then they just snowballs, Ecuador kind of cut out that feel.
Could do, yeah.
Give me the standout player in the group for you. before we give it to the team, because we're not going to go into massive detail on this.
No.
We're going to have a standout player. We're going to have pick 2 to go through, and we move on to the next group.
Cody Gakpo, the Netherlands. I think
Okay.
he'll start ahead of Memphis Depay.
Okay.
I think when you look at the age of the Senegal squad, there's an awful lot of 30-plus players there. You know, Mendy, Koulibaly, even Mendy at Leicester. You know, they're all 30 plus. And I wonder how much the African nations took out of that side to reach that summit and then go again. This is the Netherlands' first tournament in a long time.
Yeah.
2014, I think, was the last tournament they went to. They finished third.
Yeah.
They've been runners-up 3 times. I could see why they're being tipped as a dark horse for this. Denzel Dumfries is another player who I think will do well in this tournament. If people are doing fantasy football for this tournament,
Is Danjuma in the group, in the squad?
I don't think so.
Right. Okay.
Cody Gakpo is, De Jong is. They'll play 3 at the back and they'll play attacking wing backs. And Denzel Dumfries is made for that wing back role. But I think Cody Gakpo is a player. Here. I think Cody Gakpo is a player who's going to do something. This I think he's going to boost his transfer value uncomfortably out of a lot of clubs' remit this World Cup. But the other thing that'll be interesting to see is how Virgil copes in a back 3. It's all well and good doing it in friendlies and in qualifier games where you don't see much of the ball. But see how he is in the centre of a back 3 with more than likely Uri and Timber on one side and maybe De Ligt as the other centre back. Yeah, Netherlands are going to be a good watch.
Okay, so 2 to go through in the group.
2 to go through. Netherlands will win the group. Ecuador second.
I tend to agree with you. Yeah, I go with that. I'm happy with that. I think the loss of Mane is used for Senegal. I think he's a real, like, as much as we go on about Salah for Egypt being a talisman, I think Mane is a huge talisman for Senegal, and he might end up that unfortunate that he gets back to playing. They, not that they're out of the group, but they could be badly needing something to get through. You know what I mean? They could be badly needing to get something. I think
Ismail Assar is key for them.
Yeah.
If he turns up, Ismail Assar is capable.
Very hit and miss though for me, Kev.
Exactly. That's the thing. That's the reason why a lot of clubs haven't gone for him.
Yeah, I think he's very hit and miss.
But he's vital for them. He has to hit the ground running if they're going to do anything in this group. But I'll stick with it. I'll stick with what I said.
Okay, let's go on to Group B. Group B, England, Iran, USA and Wales. All right. There's been a lot made over. I think the Wales squad nearly picks itself. They've been very tight-knit as to who they are. They know their identity, the way they play, and I've been very impressed with them over the last couple of years, I have to be honest. They pull out big results when they need them. They win games they're meant to win most of the time. USA are interesting for me because USA had, their reputation seems to have grown a lot with the young players that they have, you know. And, you know, this player's young and, you know, like Pulisic and is it Gio Reyna Gio Reyna off Dortmund and stuff like that. And they struggled a bit through the qualifiers. You know, they struggled at times.
They haven't been in any kind of form going
they
into
haven't
this
been. Now, Iran I know nothing about, so I'm not going to pretend I do. But the big one here is England, because there's been a huge amount made over the squad that he's picked. I think, you know, I'm not a big Gareth Southgate fan because I think he's a liar. And I think he's a compulsive liar, to be perfectly honest with you. The treatment of some players, and when you know I'm talking about Trent Alexander-Arnold and this, really rubbed me up the wrong way, and comments from him. You know, he said things like he didn't pick Tammy Abraham because he already lost a bit of form, and he has Harry Maguire in the fucking squad. You know, he's picking his favourites, but pretending he's not picking other players that you would think would be in the squad because of form and stuff like that. So it's one rule for one and one rule for another. And I'm no fan of England when they play, and I think he's made a massive rod for his own back with the squad that he's picked. And the options that he has there, if one or two go down, I think he's in serious trouble.
Yeah, I mean, look, England should come out of this group.
Yeah.
They should top the group. I think they will top the group. Yeah, let's just leave that one out there. He's nailed on to play a back five because the squad dictates that.
Yeah.
I think he
They're
was
probably looking at
almost.
Maguire, Stones, and Walker as their back three, I think.
I think Dyer, I'd imagine. I don't know if he go
Well,
with.
if he brings Maguire, I think he's going to have to play him.
I don't think he will.
Because I couldn't believe he didn't bring Tomori. I just couldn't get over it.
No, I get the Tomori one to a point. I mean, look, he should have gone purely and simply. He's a left-sided centre back who's quick, And if you're going to have Kyle Walker as your right-sided centre back,
what's he going to do? Is he going to put Stones and Dyer then?
I think he put Dyer in the middle.
Yeah,
with John Stones, because John Stones is a good footballer.
Yeah, he's a very good centre back. In fairness,
he's improved an awful lot over the years. So whether he plays the left hand side, the question for me is, and I think he will start Trent on the right as a wing back, is that he might start Kieran Trippier as a left wing back with three in midfield. It would be Declan Rice, Bellingham, and possibly Foden or Mason Mount as your attacking midfielder.
But he's brought the fella off City who used to be with Leeds. His name is going to my head.
Calvin Phillips.
Yeah.
I think it'll be first change with Henderson
because at the Euros it was Calvin Phillips and Rice in that midfield all day long. But I think they'll top the group. But I think I just feel like England have picked players that probably shouldn't have went, and I think I know they're in Qatar and stuff like that, but I think the media are going to be all over them from the very, very beginning. We're saying they'll top the group, right? Who comes second? Because I'm going to throw it out there. I think Wales go with them.
I don't, and purely simply, I think they're going to be relying on too many players that are way past their best, and Gareth Bale has had a really good resurgence in the MLS, but Ramsey in France has been atrocious. His club career for the last few years has been really poor. Put a Wales shirt on him and he's a different animal. The same with Joe Allen. You put him in a Wales shirt on him and they're really, really good. The thing is, I look at that US squad and Turner is at Arsenal, you have Serginho Dest at Milan, Aronson, McKennie at Juventus, Tyler Adams. They've, like you said, Pulisic, Gio Reyna, Josh Sargent as well. They've got players who were quick, energetic, high pace, high energy. They might not be in form going into the tournament, but I think they've got enough to come out of the group.
I completely see what you're saying, right?
Yeah.
But the only thing that for me is, for the results I've seen for America or the USA, whatever you want to call them, in the last couple of years, and even in the qualifying for the World Cup, games where you expected them to win, they either didn't or struggled badly. And for me, I get the whole age profile with Wales, but Wales seem to go in with a very clear idea of what they want to do in every game, and they seem to put that plan into place very quickly and very efficiently. And I think, like when you see, they're a wily old team, like when you think of Croatia or something in a tournament, where they're a wily old team, and and even when you think of Germany squad is poor, you think that they're wily, they'll get through and you'll be quarterfinal. I just have a feeling that Wales, with the plan that they'll have set in stone and the way they carry out that plan a lot of the time, I think might just get them through the group. But look, I'll take England, Wales. Are you taking England?
I'd take England, US, but it's vital that for England's sake, that they top the group, because the runners-up of this group will most likely face Netherlands in the next round, and vice versa. If you come second in the group, you face Holland. If you win the group, if it goes the way I think it'll go, you'll face Ecuador in the next round. And you have a real live chance then, whoever it is, of getting into the last eight. Yeah. And from there on, anything is possible.
Yeah. Oh, that's it. Once you get out of that last 16, you know, anything goes.
Yeah.
Let's look at Group C. Argentina, Mexico, Saudi Arabia, Poland. It's an interesting group because Argentina go into it as probably one of the. I think they might be favourites for it actually.
If they're not, they will be very close.
Yeah. I was speaking to Sean the other night, and I think he told me that Argentina are actual favourites for the tournament. Messi's last major tournament, I think.
Yeah.
World Cup anyway, unless he can squeeze another. Unless he can squeeze another South American championship in, you know. But when you look at the rest of them, Poland flatter to deceive for me.
Yeah, they do.
Mexico, you know,
very poor.
Yes, but they're probably looking at Saudi Arabia and Poland and saying to themselves, "We have a chance. You know, we actually have a chance." I don't know about Saudi Arabia. I don't know enough about them, but when I look at this, is this a case of a group where Argentina stroll this, win their first two, rest a lot of players for the tour game, probably come out of it with 7 points, and the rest of them scrap around them?
Well, we've been here before with Argentina in World Cups, where you look at the group and you think, yeah, they'll waltz through it, and they can struggle. This version of Argentina, though, I mean, my God.
Yeah, I know.
You talk about Lionel Messi, you have Lautaro Martinez, you have Alvarez, who's at City, you have Dybala, you have Enzo Fernandez, you have McAllister, Leandro Martinez, and you have the keeper as well, who's at Villa. You know, this Argentina look a different animal compared to previous versions. I don't think they'll struggle one bit. I think they'll rotate plenty through this group and come through this group with 9 points, and everyone will have played and be ready and primed for the knockout football.
Yeah,
they'll run away with this group. Saudi Arabia, like yourself, very much there for the ride. You know, they'll enjoy the tournament, but I don't expect them to get anything out of it. Mexico, couple of names you'll be familiar with. Herrera used to be at Atletico Madrid. Herling Lozano at Napoli, very good player. Raul Jimenez is going against the advice of Lopetegui.
Okay.
Lopetegui did not want him going, but he's going. That's it. An awful lot of Liga MX players in this Mexican squad. An awful lot of players, younger players, looking for bigger moves to Europe. So the Mexican league is strong in that part of the world. You know, you'd often see the Mexican sides would beat the MLS sides in their version of a Champions League.
Yeah,
but it's not a great league, and I can't imagine that they play too many internationals together. You know, especially in a role like this, they wouldn't have the tournament experience going into this.
So does this all depend on if Poland turn up Lewandowski and co?
If Lewandowski, Matty Cash, Milik, Zelinski, Bednarek, these players, if they turn up and play to form, they'll come second in the group, and from there see what the knockouts are like. But Lewandowski is in the same boat as Messi is in this. This is probably his last tournament, and he's never really done it at international level. Club level, the guy's an absolute freak. He's a great goal.
No, he's loads of goals for Poland. I just think whenever they've
when he chips it down, he doesn't turn up in tournaments.
Yeah, so I think they do flatter to deceive Poland. I think if they show up though, they'll have too much for Saudi Arabia and Mexico.
Yeah.
As a matter of interest, when do Argentina play Poland in this group? Do you know?
No, I don't off the top of my head.
Hold on.
Have a quick look there, because that'll decide top. If that's early, then it could go down to goal difference in the last games. But I think this, to me, it's probably the most dominant group of a 1-2.
Okay, I'm just going to double check because I think it'd be interesting when Poland play. When Poland play the, let me see, Group C.
It might be first up.
Mexico play Poland up first. Let me go down here now. No, they don't play them till last.
So it could come down to a straight shootout. The
It
30th of
could do,
November is
it
a
could
7
do,
o'clock
but
kickoff.
it probably will end up with, Argentina might have 4 points, Poland might have, or Argentina might have 6, Poland have 4, and Poland it might stop Argentina from resting a few, and Poland thinking they can top the group. But then again, if Poland mess up in one of those 2 games, Argentina stroll it, and rest players
Yeah,
at the
they
end,
do.
and maybe that gives Poland a chance to overtake the other 2. But Argentina, Poland, there with them.
Oh, yeah,
Okay, all
hands
right.
down.
Yeah, no, I'm happy with that. Right, last group of the evening is Group D. France, Australia, Denmark, Tunisia. France have an unbelievable squad. Like the
Yeah.
players they've left out of the fucking squad is scandalous.
It's funny enough, I looked on transfermarket.com
Yeah,
and the actual transfer market value of the France squad is $1.08 billion.
like the players you have. You look at the strength you have in goal. I'm not too sure, but when you look at the centre backs, everything else throughout the team they have is just
They're
pace, power, strength, ability. You have the whole lot. So let's put them aside for a minute because we
Yeah, we'll
presume
come
they're going
back
to
to them.
top the group. Let's look at Tunisia. Again, a bit like Saudi Arabia. Tunisia usually turn up. They might get a draw somewhere, but eventually they're beaten. So we rule them out, I think.
Yeah, the only name I recognised off from Tunisia was Medbury. United, he was at Manchester United. Hannibal Medbury.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he's on loan at Birmingham this
Yeah.
season. He plays for Tunisia, and Shakar. Yeah, I think Shakiri or Shakari. He's at Cologne. But other than that, the rest of the players are either local based or in lower leagues
Yeah.
on the continent.
Denmark are
It would
interesting, though. Because
Denmark are very interesting.
I think they're very strong.
They are.
I think they're looking
They
very strong.
Denmark have a very good squad, very experienced squad as well, and very strong at the back. You've Kasper Schmeichel in goal. You have Anderson from Fulham, Christensen is at Barcelona now, Simon Kjær at Milan, and Christensen at Leeds.
Yeah.
That's a very strong back 4. 5 if you want to use Makele from Atalanta.
Yeah.
And then you look at the midfield. In midfield is Højbjerg, Norsgaard, and Christian Eriksen.
Yeah.
You've 2 proper holding centre mids there. And you've Christian Eriksen and Damsgaard in free roles. And up front, you have Darren Braithwaite and Dolberg,
Yeah.
who's been around now for a good while. You also have the guy he's at RB Leipzig. It's not Olsen.
You're
His
asking
name?
me now, Kev.
No. they're Christian Poulsen. Not Christian Poulsen, but his last name is Poulsen.
Okay.
But they have a really experienced, good, solid side who would, again, they'd be top of the who needs them club. If you come to knockout football,
You don't want to
they
touch
could
them.
be, no, you don't. They could be one of those sides that could scrap their way into a last eight very easily.
So we have France down as a winner in this group, right?
Yeah.
Well, we're writing off Tunisia. We're looking at Denmark being strong. So can Australia jump in there and take second place for you?
No. The only names you'd recognise from Australia would be Aaron Moy,
Celtic.
Matt Ryan, the goalkeeper. He used to be at Brighton. That's it.
He was at Brighton. Was he not at Arsenal then?
He went from Brighton to Arsenal and then left Arsenal. I think he's in Spain now.
Okay. All right.
But that's about it from Australia. Australia haven't had... the thing is, Australia were in the run-in to host this tournament.
Yeah.
And the build-up for this tournament started with the A-League in Australia back then. But because they didn't get the tournament, the A-League never really got the investment in Australia that hosting a World Cup would have brought them.
Yeah.
In the same way with the MLS in the US, off the back of the 94 World Cup, got the investment. Australia never did. And it'll be, I think, the Australia against Tunisia will be the game to decide third place.
Okay.
But the winner of this group will be the winner of the France-Denmark game. And that could be a game where you could get a surprise.
Yeah.
Because as I said, Denmark are very strong at the back. Yeah, France are really good. You know, they have some unbelievable talent. But we've seen in recent games in qualification and in the Nations League, they can come a cropper in games.
Yeah.
You know, and against a side like Denmark, who won't hold any fear of playing France, they know what they're coming up
Yeah.
against. It wouldn't be beyond the realms of possibility that Denmark get a result against France that could mean it goes down to goal difference, or they could turn them over. You know?
Well, are we going France Denmark? Yeah.
Oh yeah,
In that order, though.
In that order, I think you'd have to go France Denmark, but
Yeah.
it wouldn't be beyond the realms of possibility that Denmark sneak in and maybe top the group, and that puts the cat amongst the pigeons for the knockout stages in a big way.
Okay. Of all the teams we've spoken about there, who's your standout of those 16? And who is your dark horse for the tournament?
Standout is, for me, is Argentina. I would have said France until I looked at the squad and you realise they've only taken one full back on either side. They've taken one right back, one left back, a rake of centre backs. A problem centre midfield, they've taken Rabiot and they've taken Mbappe. And you look at it, you just look at it, they have the capability within that squad to explode.
Yeah.
And they've done it in the past. I don't know why Rabiot is going to this tournament. I have no idea. Good player, playing well at the minute, but I wouldn't have had him anywhere near the squad.
Yeah.
So I look at Argentina.
Argentina just stand out. Who's your dark horse?
Netherlands.
Yeah.
The Netherlands could quietly find themselves in a very good position in this tournament. They have a really good squad. Van Gaal, 71 years of age, just he's got over prostate cancer. He's had 20 odd chemotherapy sessions to get over this, and he's got the all clear, which is fantastic. But I look at this isn't the Netherlands of the 80s and the 90s where there was cliques and where they had problems. This looks like a Netherlands side who are completely together and all pulling in the one direction. And they have a real good record of getting to finals. They just couldn't get it over the line.
Yeah.
I'd love to see him go on and win it. I really would, just for the romantic in me in watching football over the years.
Yeah.
You know, I'd love to see them get and do it. But Argentina as well, serious squad, serious talent.
I think Argentina are probably the standout, just ahead of France, because I think France just are big, strong, powerful unit. They've been together. They know how to do it. Argentina have huge pressure from their own country to win World Cups. That's just a standard there. But I kind of agree with you with Holland. I think if Holland get through their group, like you said, you could get a decent. If they win their group, you could get a decent draw in the last 16, and then like you said, you get into the last 8. And Holland are the tighter to get on a roll. They, the confidence grows and they get tighter and tighter together, and God only knows where they can go. And when you have the likes of Van Dijk there, likes of Gakpo, they've lots of talent, and that can hurt you. So I probably go along the same lines as you. But there's some cracking games in there. Don't get me wrong, there's some cracking games in there. We're going to leave it there. We're going to go on to groups E, F, G and H in our next recording. And as I said, we'll have both these shows out on Saturday, the day before the World Cup starts. Kev, anything else before we go?
No, just hit the like button and share it around so as many people get to see it, and leave your comments in the comment section below so we can get
We're going to release
feedback.
these as premieres anyway, so when they go out, people can actually live comment on them as they go out. So we do that
cool.
as well. All right. That has been your World Cup preview, groups A to D, with me, Gav, and Kev. We'll be back the next time for, as I said, groups E to H. Talk to you in a bit. Over and out.